So I came into the course about 10, 12 years ago. I was with a friend in conversation, and he quoted something from the course. He said, I was reading something that sounded really cool. It says, there's no order of difficulty in miracles. No degree of difficulty. And I thought, that's interesting. Because we go about our lives thinking that certain things are harder than others. We certainly, to some degree, pray, or if you're into metaphysics, you certainly want to manifest great things in your life. And the idea of difficulty comes up a lot. Like, can I really do it? Can I really make this happen? So when he said that, it sparked something in me. And I said, I need to get that book. I don't know what that book is, but I need to get that book. Shortly after, I was in a store called the Bodhi Tree in Los Angeles. And there it is. Could not miss it. It was the first thing my eye went to. It was on the bottom shelf. Stood out like a sore thumb. I didn't even know it was the book. It wasn't until I walked up to it. Oh, that's the book. Took the book home. At this point in my life, I was really into the law of attraction, manifesting, creating my reality. So when I saw A Course in Miracles, I thought, okay, this is going to be a course on how to create whatever I want. So when I opened it up, I realized quickly that's not what it's about. It's not about changing form. But whereas at that time, I was strictly looking for happiness in things I could bring into my experience, this was basically saying, no, your happiness is you. And so it kind of let me down. I was just like, this is not the book I want. Now, on top of that, it uses a lot of Christian terms. And there's no judgment on Christianity. I grew up Catholic, but I also had a very clear definition of what I thought, or was taught to believe, who the Holy Spirit was, who God was, and who Jesus was. So when I saw those terms here, it was a turnoff, quite honestly. I thought, why do I need another Bible? And so I put the book down. I thought that was a waste of 35 bucks. But I wasn't going to get rid of it. I left it there. And then about 4 or 5 years later, it made its way from the coffee table to the shelf, blah, blah, blah. I moved a couple of times, always thinking, am I taking this with me? It's a thick book, 35 bucks. Maybe I'll get to it. I don't know. And then I started reading some other books, Wayne Dyer, David Hawkins specifically. And then I ran into this book called Disappearance of the Universe. And not knowing it at the time, I bought the book and then came to realize that, oh, he's talking about this. So I'm like, maybe I need to go back. Maybe it's not what I thought. So I read his book, and I completely had a shift in perspective of what this was about. I'm like, oh, I'm starting to get this. And so I would pick up the book, and I would start it. But I would still feel overwhelmed, because it ain't easy reading. I would read a page and go back and say, what did I just read? I've never been a great reader. I'm like the kid in school who had the summer reading, and the week before school was about to start, I'm like trying to read my books because I always procrastinated and didn't enjoy reading. So when you give me this, I'm like, whew. At the same time in my life, I was very much into self-improvement. I used to work on Tony Robbins, listen to Tony Robbins. I was excited about the law of attraction. At the time, I was practicing hypnotherapy. All about self-improvement. I gotta be better, I'm gonna be better. There's a lot of things that I wanted. I wanted more money. And now I got the job that I wanted. Or I got the money that I want, more than what I want expected. So now, guess what? I'm gonna be happy. I'm gonna be happy. And so I started working. And you know what? I gave up on self-improvement. You know what? I'm just going to be happy because I'm making a lot of money, or for me that was a lot of money. And had a good position. Of course, that wasn't really enough, right? Because now 2 years into it, I'm bored, and I'm not happy. And so I want the next position, so I got to get promoted, At the time, I also had moved into a house. I live in LA, and I don't know if anybody's familiar with LA, but there was nothing I wanted more than living in the Hollywood Hills. Like, that's where you got to live. Big house in the Hollywood Hills. And that came too. Now, you know where this is all leading, which is no matter where I was, what I got, I was always still coming back to a place of being unfulfilled. So nothing outside of me was going to be the source of my joy. Now, what I didn't share, which I can also talk about for hours, is I also went through relationships throughout that period, where in each one, I was seeking happiness. You know, I remember going into a relationship with someone very attractive and thinking, I got myself an arm piece. I'm now better and happier because of how good looking this person is. So much so that I'm also willing to accept less than what I deserve in the relationship, because I don't want to lose that, because that's my source of happiness. I was also doing a lot of drugs. So I tried everything you can imagine. And I'm not going to lie, I had a great time. But again, it was this chase for happiness that I just came to a point where I realized it is not going, there's no light at the end of the tunnel. And with the course on the table, I had decided I was going to do the course. It was always itching, always pulling me. But I knew if I was going to do the course, I was going to have to do the course. I started to use resources online to help me learn what the text meant. In the process, I became more forgiving. So where I would forget a day or two, I used to get mad at myself. Oh, it's ruined. Got to start from the beginning. Didn't stay on track with the course. I said, this time be forgiving. It's going to come to me the way it comes to me. My intention is clear. I missed 2 days. Great. I pick up on the third day and I start where I left off. By the time I got 2/3 into the course, something clicked. There was a clear sense that there was something bigger than me leading me. There was something bigger than me exposing to me a sense of peace and joy that I had never felt. Now mind you, I tried every drug. This is different. This is different. I was trying to explain it to somebody and I said, you know, the best way I can say it is there's an experience of a seventh sense. Not a sixth sense, a seventh, because I have no idea where this came from. And it was this bliss and this peace and this joy and this feeling of being washed and just washed away of this body and simply being or existing as joy. Love and joy is the best way I can explain it. And so it was clear to me that, oh, something I'm doing, applying the principles, has shifted my consciousness. And there's no going back. And since then, there have been many other experiences that have kind of showed me kind of like a window into what's out there, you know. And the cool thing about love is love's eternal. That experience is infinite, and boy, do I want to wash and bask in that experience. And so the more I apply the principles, the more I have that experience, the more I'm in joy, the more I experience less suffering. Or when I do experience suffering, there's a quick alarm system that goes up, you're not thinking in alignment with what the Course would say is the Holy Spirit or right-mindedness. And so that's how I came to the Course. I'm here to just share my message, share the joy. And if you resonate with it, I welcome you and invite you. And if you ever have a question after this course or this workshop, by all means, I'm available.